All right, you are live. Okay, look at that. I'm waiting, I don't know, for the screen to get bigger.
Yeah.
We're ready? Okay. So welcome everyone to our regularly scheduled Government Operation Committee meeting tonight, February 5th, 2024. Voting committee members are Councillors Fish, Councillor Haas, Councillor Schaefer, Councillor Trimble, and at the table we have Councillor Fournier, Councillor Leonard, Councillor Chair Peltier, and we have Courtney O'Donnell, Assistant City Manager. And we will start with our first item on the agenda, annual 2023 annual report, Advisory Committee on Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Human Rights. And we have Katie Bryden, who is Vice Chair.
Yes,
All
right.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, excited to hear your report.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. So my name is Katie Bryden. I have will be serving for the second year now as our Vice Chair of the Advisory Committee for Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Human Rights. Our Chair, Leanna, is well, she was supposed to be here, so now I'm practicing my improv skills. But I don't know any good jokes right now, so I will just dive right in of what I know. We did submit an annual report that was approved by our subcommittee and it should be in your packets for review. Oh, there she is. Sorry, you missed your chance.
It's
a great report. And so for this year, we wanted to highlight some things that we really worked on. This was very much a building year for us in that while this is technically the fourth year that the advisory committee and many of you have participated on it is in action, really honing in on the way in which we operate, how we can better serve the city, and really strategize the number of individuals that we have has been the sole purpose of this last year. So what we did was we started by formalizing our agendas so that we would always be able to focus on anything that was happening in the city related to education, then in policy, and then ordinances. So that anything that was coming from the city obviously had its spot on our agenda, but there were also opportunities for us to be a little bit more proactive in the way that we actually develop the agenda and what we wanted to share or really focus on in those areas. We also created subcommittees so that our participants that are on the advisory committee could be more involved in some things that they felt really excited about. So we created 4 subcommittees, one on accessibility. And this really obviously covers the gamut, not just in looking at the physical accessibility of the city and our aging buildings, but also with the new website and that design and what that's going to look like. We also have a human resources component. No, I got it. I'm really proud of myself. We have a human resource component, which will really focus in on ways that we can support the city with the hiring initiatives, looking at any practices that might be changing, what we can look at in terms of what's being shared, if there's any feedback we have. We have an education and outreach or events subcommittee, and that subcommittee is really working on ways that this group can get more engaged with the city. What's happening? You know, what's actually being put on, for example, Pride, and how can we participate in that? Have a table, get feedback from citizens on what they would like more focus in this space of equity, inclusion, and belonging look like. And then lastly, our housing initiative, which makes sure that there are individuals on our committee that are always informed as to what's happening in the city with housing and our unhoused neighbors and ways that we can get better involved and support. So it's less of a brain dump at every single meeting and more of a proactive opportunity for us to share what work has been done in between meetings and what we really hope to progress and move forward so that there's action happening.
And we did create a 5th subcommittee in the last couple of months to help, came out of an equity index, and it really spurred the committee. There was a lot of interest in this. What are we as Bangor advertising? What are we saying about ourselves? And, you know, a lot of people took it, they're like, we're not saying a lot of great things about what we have to offer here. Who are we trying to attract here? So we have 4 very passionate individuals who are taking on this task. And our hope is that we can wrap it around into what's happening with the website redevelopment to really put out there what we're doing and attract the people that we want to come here, the diversity and the inclusion. We want people to be here and stay here.
I think that's a good segue, Leanna, into our goals for 2024 and how we're going to actually be more thoughtful about what we're doing moving forward. Like I said, it's not going to be such a reactive opportunity, but more proactive. So creating additional subcommittees, getting more involved. Do you want to share some of the goals we have for 2024?
Well, thank you, Katie. I think that actually could do it all for me if you wanted to, but that's why I'm so thrilled to have you as another co-chair, vice chair again for the upcoming year. It's great having that stability on the committee again so that we can really keep pushing the agenda forward. My name is Leanna Fellis. I'm the chair of the advisory committee. And, really to build off what Katie is saying is we did put that very conscientious effort into making sure our meetings are structured and that we allow that flexibility to address the city's concerns, but allow our members who have passion to bring that to the surface. And so we're really working hard on empowering our committee members to tackle those different areas, these subcommittees, whether it be attending other committee meetings, other presentations. And our sincere hope is that they're bringing it back to us so that we can bring it back to city councils and other committees so that we are really trying to touch on all the populations. There could be things that you as a committee just don't know about. And it's us and our grassroots efforts that we are doing every day, the things that we're hearing, engaging in these different events that really allows us to bring it up to the surface. And so that's why we're really passionate about these subcommittees and really hoping that our committee members get in there and do that work. And that's that balance of proactive, reactive. I feel like every year we've talked about the goals of this committee, and it's that balance of proactive and reactive. How can we make sure we're meeting the city's needs and the citizens' needs? So additional things, our goals for 24 is making sure we're working with the school, and their DEIB committee and making sure that we're all continuing the effort. I think we all can look at the news right now and see how DEI, a lot of places they're defunding it. They're taking it out of schools. They're taking it out of city government. I think it's just down in Portland, the DEI person just left because they were being threatened. It's not time to walk away from it. It's the time to deep dive into it. Keep going, keep pushing it. Change is hard. This is not an overnight process. So we want to make sure that whether it's our committee or the school, that we're all doing it together and that we're all trying to meet the same goals. Or if there's ways that we can help support their goals, or if there's things that they can do to help support our goals. It's really a team effort we see. And our hope is to get into other committees. One of my big goals for the year is to make sure that people in Bangor know who we are. We've been to numerous events where people are like, we didn't even know that existed. We didn't know that was a thing. So we're trying to get out in the public more, going to committees, doing more events, hosting tables, doing community sponsored events, whether it be through city council or through other organizations, really creating those collaborative groups to push Bangor where we know we want it to be. And that's an inclusive space where people feel safe and welcome. We're going to continue working that proactive balance, between city needs and with the support of the council. And then just continue to make sure that our meetings are meeting the goals, education, ordinances, and policies. That is outlined in our charter, and that's why we made that very specific priority last year to make sure we have that built in there. And we want everyone to feel like if there's ever any questions or things that you want to know more about, or if there's a topic you want our committee to know about, we have placeholders and we are happy to get it on the agenda. We're happy to talk about it and we're happy to learn. We jokingly said that we should put in the number of pages that we have read, as a committee. I'm sure as city council, you probably feel the same way as well. It's a lot, but it's meaningful work. Whether it's making sure our language is gender neutral or that we are talking about what is accessibility? What does that mean? Which populations does it touch? Are we forgetting someone? If there's something that you're just not even sure, we want you to come to us and we want to be able to talk and have the open conversations and acknowledge that sometimes it's contentious and that's okay because that's how we grow and we learn and we listen. And we're excited for another year of great work.
Yeah. We got a great group. So we're looking forward to it. Other questions that any of you have?
Yes, please.
It's not really
Yes.
a question, it's more of a comment. So I remember, back when I was on, had a different name at the time, but, the Racial Equity Inclusion, Human Rights Committee, that, our opinion was definitely helpful regarding the, granted, it was a tumultuous decision at the time, but the, ban of flavored tobacco in the city. And I would like the city council to try to include more decisions centered around the guidance of what the Racial Equity Inclusion Human Rights Committee has on certain things. And I think, when I say this is a failure of like including myself on this council, that when we were deciding what to appropriate money towards during the ARPA process, we did not go to you guys at all. And I think that was a blind spot of ours. And what I would like to see in the future for our remaining ARPA dollars is obviously not to make the final decisions to be with your committee, but what I would like to see, just a general task for myself, I want your input. I want your opinions on how you see ARPA dollars to be useful from your lens. So that's just my only comment I want to add. I just want to say that thank you for that update, and thank you for bringing here. And I love your green shirt, by the way.
Yeah.
Councillor Trimble.
Just a question, when you mentioned one of the goals for the upcoming years to work closer with the school department, and I think your vice chair may have had a little connection with the school department. And I know when we created the committee, I mean, I think there were, at that time, maybe some other issues going on that were making the press about the school department and stuff, so, and we have some other people in the school department here, so, and we did make sure we had a student member of the committee, so how's that working out with a student member? Are are they participating? They're pretty good participation from that person?
We've had some really strong students come through, and we do have a student again this year, and we just started our meetings up for the new year. So we're just getting into, getting to know everyone, but they already were super involved, and when they said, is it okay if I miss the January meeting because I want to go do the place and time count, we're like, love that. That shows a commitment, to things. So yes, we very much, I've enjoyed the presence of the students on the committee. And I think, to take it a step back, we know that the school DEIB committee has gone through some changes recently. So we haven't had as many updates as, we would like, but we understand that's also part of change and growing. That happens. And so we eagerly wait for them to come back to our meetings and get in there and give us the updates and just see how we can support.
What's the acronym for the school group? What's that one? The DEI?
DEIB,
Is what?
diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging.
Okay.
That's a lot of I just got ours down. But I will say that, we do have a really strong group of individuals that are on the DEIB committee. And I think that that's something that we, as a committee, and when we talk about being more present, I think that also includes working more closely and getting those updates by participating in the subcommittee of the DEIB group. They have many subcommittees as well. So being able to connect with them just to make sure that that line of communication is open and that there's a very clear path in how what's happening at the school is also happening at a city level and vice versa.
Supporting.
So that it doesn't feel like we're further siloing our groups by all having long acronym subcommittees here and there, that there's some good work happening there together.
I want to comment. So I was honored to chair this committee the first year. I remember we were excited focusing on policy and, how to address resolutions or statutes in the city, but then we did not know where to go from there. And I felt even for you guys, the second year was the same, struggling. And now I see you're evolving for subcommittees and focusing on like the issues that are really, critical for our city, members, people in this community to, to focus on. And then you are back, you go back to policy. To it is at the core of what you guys do. So it's really impressive, the work you do. I'm so happy to have you guys there. Like your leadership is awesome. So just keep it up.
Thank you. We've
Thank you
obviously
so
had
much.
some some great pavers of this path.
Thank you so much.
That I see here at this table. And yeah, like I said, we have a really great comprehensive group with a lot of different backgrounds that have just started joining us in this, our last group in January. So I'm really looking forward to more opportunities to really further advance, because the more we have individuals that are involved in different facets of the city, obviously, the easier communication and seeing that space is going to evolve.
And I want to second Councillor Leonard's comments about coming back to you guys. I mean, yeah, we are focusing on housing. It is our resolution for 2024. So I think, and one of your subcommittees is housing. So I think it should be more, communication between the council and your community.
Yeah, that's our goal, is to have those subcommittee members attend
Yes.
the meetings to get that information, and Debbie's obviously always really good about informing us on what's happening so that we're not missing these opportunities. And a lot of the way that we did schedule the agenda is so that we can be very clear about what should be coming through and how we can better provide that lens. And so we just hope to continue to scaffold on that for the coming year.
And we also want to invite any council member to come to a meeting. We love for anyone to come in. We love if we hear someone watches our meetings, and just the opportunity to talk about it. So please come to. any
We're so
of
fun,
these.
aren't we? That's so fun.
I think this year, like, we were really concerned with ARPA meetings last year, so it
Yeah.
was, but I think this year you guys managed how to shrink those meetings, so now we have once a week, and I love it. I think that, gives us more time, and, we can invest more time into attending other meetings like yours, and it's important to do so. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.
Need a motion on this, Dina?
They want approval.
Oh,
yeah.
you need approval, so do we
I
have a
move,
motion?
I move approval of the annual report.
So we
Second.
have, second, so we have approved a second, so it's approved, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the second item on the agenda, city clerk update.
I've asked Brandon to come so I can introduce you to him. He's our new deputy city clerk and he is the front office manager. So he has recently been promoted and he's doing a fantastic job and I wanted you all to.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Hello. Excuse me. So I gave an overview of the different things that we do in the office. Now that the treasury and the clerk's office have been combined, we do an awful lot of different things together. And I'm happy to report that all of the front line has been cross-trained. So they may not be perfect in what they're doing, but they have an idea of what they're doing and they're helping each other out. And they're doing a really good job of getting things done so that a customer doesn't have to figure out which window do I go to. They can go to any of the windows and be waited on. And we gave you a snapshot of the receipts that we have handled over the last 3 months. And besides the taxes and utilities, which is a lot of those receipts, I broke down some of the other things that we have processed through motor vehicle, dog licenses, and birth, death, marriage, things like that. Also, our focus now is on the primary in March. We've got 30 days and absentee voting started today. There are some new things with this election because it's a semi-open primary, which means that anyone that's unenrolled, not affiliated with any political party, can choose to vote either a Democratic or a Republican ballot. They can't vote both. They can only vote one of them. So they can make a selection for that. Anyone that's in the Libertarian Party, the No Labels Party, or the Green Independent cannot vote because their parties are not holding a primary, so they don't have a ballot. If they wanted to vote in this next coming election, then they could, by February 16th, come in and unenroll or change to a different party, and they would be able to vote in March. So that's exciting. We have not had a lot of absentee ballot requests. It's kind of low. It's just, there just doesn't seem to be the enthusiasm right now, but I'm hoping that will pick up, especially people are listening tonight. One of the other things that is happening that started February 1st, anyone that is 65 years of age or older or self-identifies with a disability can apply for ongoing absentee voting, which means they're gonna fill out a form, they have to sign it, they can't do it online, so we have to have that paper copy signed. And we will, from that point on, send them a ballot for every single election, which is really nice, and I actually had my first one this morning, so that was nice. And the other new thing is online voter registration. The state really hasn't said too much about it yet. That started February 1st, because they have to, there's a deadline for not being in person to register to vote. So that deadline is February 16th. And when that day hits, they have to shut it down until after the election. So they're really not advertising it, but right now you can go online, you can change your party, you can change your address, you can register to vote right now online through the state's website.
Until when again?
February 16th.
Thank you.
So, yeah, any questions? Yes, Councillor Schiff.
How has it been down here and where are you guys down here and will the ballot box be down here? Like how has the long-term temporary move worked for you?
We love it. It's really, the setup is good for us. Everybody is together. It's easy access for the public when they're coming in because we're right there. They don't have to walk down a long hall or anything. Our ballot box is right outside. We've got that open now.
Okay, maybe I came in the wrong side of the.
Yes, if you could, you come in the other door, it's down there.
Oh, okay. And how has there been any comments from the public on having the cross train? Because now it's sort of like you have more tax clerks and more clerks and.
There's been a few, they haven't said too often much, they just like it.
Mhm.
They like the setup of it, so.
Good.
But they haven't, nothing specific that they've said.
Any other questions? I think that's it. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thanks. Okay. Third item on the agenda, public health funding.
Oh, we skipped one.
We skipped. Oh,
Yeah, grant funding
EEBG.
request.
Yeah, sorry.
Which is
And-
energy efficiency
Yes.
grant, block grant.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought I got it and then I forgot. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, hi.
So, this grant it was formulated by the Department of Energy, and it's available to local governments across the country. And Bangor was allocated a formula grant and it was approximately $76,000. I forgot to put the due date in here. It is due April 30th. So we're kind of quickly trying to, come up with the best use of this funding. And, there's a lot of eligible uses for this. It's geared towards, a range of things related to transportation, energy and, energy efficiency and transportation, I should say, and buildings. But really just looking through, the type of feedback we've gotten in our comprehensive plan, anticipated funding that is probably going to come out for things like EV chargers. We felt that using this for bicycle infrastructure was probably the best use of the funding. We've heard from a lot of people that we don't have enough bicycle infrastructure. So the primary things we're looking at using it for would be bicycle racks throughout downtown. And then, potentially some secure bicycle storage and maybe the parking garage. I did, work with our parking manager over there to identify a potential location for that. And then also potentially at the airport doing a covered bicycle rack. And then with the leftover funding from that, we would potentially do a e-bike rebate program. We've seen that throughout the country, e-bikes are increasing in popularity. They're considered a potential option for replacement for people. They're cheaper to maintain. They can make it easier to get around than a traditional bicycle and help with commuting and things like that. And they're actually considered one of the most efficient forms of transportation, even more so than walking and regular biking. So yeah, that's what we'd be looking at. And then we would be looking at doing, basing that rebate program on income, so available to low to moderate income people, potentially doing a tiered system where a smaller rebate might be available to people above those income levels. And our next step would be reaching out to like the Downtown Bangor Partnership and other stakeholders for our bicycle rack locations and any other thoughts people might have. But open to questions if anybody have any.
Any questions? Yes, Councillor Schaefer.
Well, I would move staff recommendation on this, but also I think it's a great idea. I think one of the things too that e-bikes are really good for is sort of that last mile. We have the bike racks on the bus and like the bus doesn't go out to the hotels on Auburn Road, that area. And it is, if I drive out there, there's no lights and there's all of a sudden there's somebody who's walking on the shoulder of the road in the dark. And if you're on an e-bike, you've got a light, you're
Right.
more visible.
Yeah.
It's also a really good way for people who have lost their licenses, whether it's an OUI or whether it's a suspended license for driving infractions, they can still ride an e-bike as that's how it used to be, as far as I know. And it's another way to make sure, like, transportation is a major issue in getting someone to work.
Mhm.
So if you can be independent, getting yourself to work, and an e-bike is a way to do it, I think it's a really unique way to look at this problem. So I think it's great, and I hope we can pilot an e-bike program. That's really neat.
Great.
Yes, Councillor.
No, I think it's a great idea. I just would reach out also to Green Drinks. They were,
Yeah.
they actually donated one of the bike repair shop kiosks we have, and I think the next meeting is actually at a bike shop, so they're very focused on biking.
Yeah, definitely. It's good.
I have a question, please, and excuse my ignorance here. So is the energy efficiency and conservation block grant, is it part of the community development block grant or it's different?
It's actually different. They
It's
just have-
different,
it's
separate, so
similar.
it's totally
It
separate.
is separate. Yeah.
Okay, that's great, actually. So
Yeah.
it has its own funding.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. And I love all the thoughts here, like, the plan, what to do with e-bike, everything looks great.
Okay.
Yes, Councillor Leonard.
Yeah, do we know if other surrounding communities are also looking at this type of strategy for a multimodal infrastructure utilizing e-bikes? Like, for example, are we coordinating with the city of Brewer with our planning analysis of this, or has that not even happened yet?
I have not yet reached out to them, but I actually do have to do that as part of this grant. And so that is my next step in addition to reaching out to stakeholders.
All right.
So,
Perfect. No, I just echo at all the other counselors that this is necessary to invest in. Hopefully the state also sees that for passenger rail as well.
Any more questions? So we had a motion. Can we have a second, please?
Second,
Second. So with no objection, it's approved. Thank you. Thank you, Anya. Now we get to item number 4, public health funding related to overdose response program in Fatty.
Hey all,
Hi.
Hey Hamilton, Public Health. Let's see, what you have before you on number 4 is a resolve for, I actually have 3 resolves for MOUs. The first one is Department of Health and Human Services, then Bangor Area Recovery Network, and another one for Maine Mental Health Connections and Together Place. These are part of our overdose response program. We update the MOUs yearly. So that I believe this is year 4 or 5 of this, year 4 or 5.
Yeah, I thought we passed the same.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have to do it.
This is not
We have-
new, yeah,
We have
okay.
to do it every year, so.
The number sticks like 23,000, so that's why I don't forget this number.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains it.
You just need one motion.
Yeah,
Yes,
for the
all
3,
three.
yeah, for the 3 of them.
I would move staff recommendation.
second.
Thank you. First we have a second and no objection. It's approved. That
Excellent.
was easy.
Yes. Where's that easy button?
Yes, those will be on the next
So-
council agenda.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
putting them on every table.
Take it easy on the retirees.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Finally, I was just gonna give a few updates on things that are, will still be continuing. The Community Health Leadership Board, as you know, is a group of public health, healthcare, social service, leaders who, this group was convened over 10 years ago, and they work on intractable social problems, essentially. The first one was opiate addiction, so they are continuing to do, we are a member of that group and we are the backbone organization, so dues are paid to hire our facilitator who helps us run our meetings and just work on however we can make some change on those problems. So we've worked on opiate addiction, as you know, for a long time. Right now, the last conversation we had was working on CMS. Just passed a law in 2024 that all healthcare organizations had to collect data on social determinants of health, which would include food insecurity and housing insecurity. So I think we're looking at that as an opportunity as it relates to homelessness and housing, because we'll have another way to collect some real data relative to our area on some of those issues. So that's just an example of some of the work that we're undertaking.
CMS.
Okay, yes. Medicare. Yeah, gotcha. So that's a little update with that group. That will continue. I will probably have one of my staff members attend that meeting in the interim until Jen comes on in April. Homelessness, as you know, is ongoing. We continue to work on that every day, all day, usually. We have a homelessness outreach caseworker. We have Paula Conte, who does the Shelter Plus Care program. Shelter Plus Care is a program that provides vouchers to people, and it helps to get them housed. So we can provide those vouchers, and they're a dedicated source of funding. So if someone doesn't have any money and they get a voucher, a landlord's going to be a lot more willing to take that person, because it also provides the care coordination after the person is housed. So that's been a really good combination, having those two people together. Just for your information, the Shelter Plus Care had changed the name of it. So it's now called Rental Assistance Program. And we will be bringing something forward with our new funding allocation for the Shelter Plus Care grants. And we're going to, I think I will still title it as the Rental Assistance Program, formerly known as Shelter Plus Care. So you all will know what that is as we transition to that new language. We are, I think, looking at the same amount of funding as we've had in the past. We've been really successful and used that pretty well.
Yes.
When you talk about funding and homeless, I mean, a lot of it's tied to the count that was recently done. And I mean, I don't know, I can't remember who told me this, but it sounded like if the count was it wrong? It sounded like Bangor had like the highest count of homeless in the state. Is that from the PIT count?
Yeah, the
Correct?
point in time count. It wasn't really. I think so the number that person released was a very early count of what we did in Bangor, and it was more of a hooray Bangor. We got together, a good group of us went out. We really did a good job with our count. The rest of the state hadn't put their figures in yet, so we didn't have information from
Right.
other
It
places.
just didn't make sense.
Right, it takes a long time to get that all entered in, so it was just I don't think it was intended to be here's the end point. It was just, hey, this was the number we have. We did a great job. We, hooray, everybody, thanks for coming out on a cold night and hiking through the woods at 9 o'clock at night, kind of thing. Yeah.
What was that number, Bangor? Was it like?
I
what,
believe it
70?
was around 100, well, the last number I saw was 125.
Oh, 120.
Yeah.
How did that compare with the number last year or the year before?
I think it's a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't completed. It was very preliminary data.
I have a question, please. So any luck with those who hold vouchers to have access to housing? Is there any progress in this and chances they are connected with housing?
With Shelter Plus Care, do you mean, or?
No, in general.
In general? Oh, in
Yeah.
general. Okay. Yes, I think it's always, it's a work in progress. It is about a lot of times the relationship made with some of the landlords
Mhm.
and some work with them saying, trying to make sure that there's a case manager that is connected when the person gets housed so that they have that follow-up. Of course, that is, it's voluntary. The person doesn't have to have follow-up. We offer them, we encourage it, we do all we can to try to make that happen. But we know it's more successful if they will accept some help after they get housed.
Okay, so do we have a number of how many of them with vouchers? Because we know it was a struggle in the past year, if I can remember correctly. It was a struggle for those who hold vouchers to have access to apartments, to housing.
Yeah, it's hard to find housing. It's not.
Yeah. So do we have a number of how many of them were able to get housing at all?
I know we did at least, I think it was like 16 to 20 that were housed with the Shelter Plus Care, which is, and the focus was on the encampment and people who are outside. So they were the most difficult people to house. So that was people with substance use disorder, eviction histories, criminal histories. So I think, in the past, we were able to house more people, but they were, I don't know if this is the right word, easier to house, but they were they were
Not as many.
Not many.
not
issues
as many
maybe.
barriers. They weren't quite as,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, so 16, I mean, it's not bad. It's, given, the challenges they have.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
includes
Oh, my gosh, yeah. I
getting,
bet.
driving them to social
Yeah.
security, getting IDs, getting licenses, filling out applications, going to see places, driving them, yeah.
And I don't want to confuse things, so some of those are from Valley Ave and others from around the whole house?
No,
or not
no, these are
necessarily?
all
This is
since,
different?
yes,
Just-
that's beyond,
Okay.
yes, beyond that. So that's that, and then finally, accreditation, we are continuing on our path to accreditation. We completed our Bangor assessment.
Mhm.
And you can go to the Health and Community Services page and see that assessment on there. It's very colorful. It's very well done. We're very proud of that. And we are working on our community health improvement plan. So we are meeting with our consultant tomorrow, and we're doing a morning session at the Cross Insurance Center doing that. And so once we have those two boxes checked, we will go back to the Pathways group, which is the National Association of County and City Health Officials, which does the Public Health Advisory Board, which does the accreditation. And they will tell us what our next pathway will be after that. So they will look at the materials we provide and they might say, this is our advice to you. You should take this pathway or that pathway, but we'll have to wait for what guidance they give us at that time. But we're taking it one step at a time.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
It is, it's a big one. It's not a quick process. for sure.
Any questions? No. Okay, thank you so much. Very welcome. See you next Monday.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, now Assistant City Manager updates.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that the fixed stop installation is going well. They've been chipping away at it. Probably won't be able to finish up until March, so we're expecting an April, or shooting for an April start of the transition period, which will be at least 6 months. So it'll likely be late fall, early winter before it's fully fixed stop and the flag stop system goes away. And we've got, press release, social media posts, all sorts of public outreach in the works, posters on the buses, things of that nature to make sure folks are aware of the changes. Our drivers, are all being trained on this new system, so they're able to have conversations and educate the public as well, especially they're the ones most familiar with their passengers, obviously, so we want them to be well informed and know what's going on as well. So, I really wanted to throw that out there, but.
Yes,
Is that-
Councilor Schaefer.
I also noticed that like the buses now, like I saw one that said like A.
Yeah,
A part.
so.
Are we like making the routes make a little more? sense?
Yeah, we named the routes to be more in line with industry standards so that it's just easier to follow and it will also integrate better with the technology. So kind of all these pieces should be coming together in the next year or two for things like an app, real-time information and things so that the routes are clearer, the stops are clearer, they're on time and efficient, things of that nature. So there's a lot of good things happening with the community connector.
I was happy to see the signs going up and then I noticed that on the buses. So I'm like, I bet
Yeah.
they're all connected.
And we do expect some may change, but we're very excited to see this move forward for sure.
I have a question, please. So I'm excited to see it as well. It has been quite a while talking about this, so I'm
Sure.
glad to see it happening. My question is, some of the population my organization works with, they don't speak English, they are working on it, but not there yet. So
Mhm.
those posters and they use the transportation system, by the way. They use the bus.
Great, okay, yeah.
Are those posters translated into different languages or just in English?
Well, I guess originally they were gonna be just in English, but we can definitely work with
Yeah, I think
your
because-
organization to make
yeah.
sure that they're accessible. We definitely want them to be
Yeah,
accessible.
talking about accessibility again,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
On that point, I think there are some industry standard signs that are like
Mhm.
universal. I assume we're going to incorporate those into,
Oh, yes.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, signage is actually a big piece of the technology piece as well. Automated announcements of when buses are coming and going from the transit system. As you might imagine, the FTA is all about accessibility and all those things. So there's a lot of requirements, that right now we rely on like a person to announce, which isn't ideal. You know, if they get hung up with something else, you know, it can delay things a little bit. So having the automated system for when the bus pulls in, it triggers an electronic signal, the announcement goes off, sort of a thing. We're a little behind the times in that way, but we're catching up.
I see you.
Awesome.
But,
Any more questions?
Thank you very much for that. I'll look into that.
Okay, thanks. Okay, looks like, yeah, no more questions on this. Any more updates you have? What about the drivers?
Yeah, that seems to be, ebbing and flowing. You know, we get close to being what on paper looks like fully staffed, but we might have a handful of folks that are out, for medical reasons. So we're still backfilling shifts. We're not, knock on wood, we're not, what I would say in a precarious position, but it's something that we're super mindful of, and we're still actively recruiting folks. If they come to us with a CDL, we can still put them through the P endorsement training fairly quickly. We learned the first time we went through with folks getting their CDL, that it was very cumbersome process to do in-house. And you can't do too many because of all the components associated with it. And so while we're evaluating that, especially like if we could do a joint one again, it's not anything that right now we have in the works. We have a new safety officers catching up on a lot of the backlog on training and things. But yeah, if somebody comes to us with a CDL, we can easily put them through for the P endorsement to get them out on the road. And we're hoping that, we just continue to recruit.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks like that's it. Okay, I guess that is the end of GovUp meeting for tonight. That was a long one. We are adjourned, but stay tuned, please, for the next committee meeting. Is it finance? I don't remember.